Professor Merino, I have loved to wander around your map of effects to meet Valeria, David, Aurora, Tom, Lillian, Marcus, and this is just parts of the characters that weave a genuine tapestry of relations. Now, for the beginning of our talk, have you ever thought about your novel in such a visual and in the same time textual way?
Yeah, well, it's very interesting because I have a passion for people, and this novel is the essence of people moving around and sharing their life. So that is the concept. But at the same time, I came from poetry. I started my career as a writer, as a poet. So I have a lot of interest on the rhythm of words. I like, to combine the emotional aspects of characters with the careful combination of light, colors, sensations in the way poetry does. So there is a combination of thoughts, emotions of characters, and at the same time, a very craft, development of the text. So I really appreciate, Marius, your perspective, because it's that what is happening in the book.
Well, that makes me even happier. As you have already said, your sensibility dwells in poetry, I would say. Of course, I was very curious about the way poetry infuses your prose, your fiction. How does it happen?
Well, because there is a rhythm in the lettering, a rhythm in the sentences, and also every chapter is like a poem itself. Every chapter works as a closed poem where you can learn about the soul of the character, the emotions, the fears. So in some ways it was, combining a poetic sense of human nature, human sensations, human love, the ability of develop affections. So that was pretty important. So I think there was a conscious selection of ideas on that sense.
El Mapa de los Afectos is a novel with many cardinal points, I would say, that is with many, many characters. How do you structure and first and foremost, how do you control such a vast array of typologies, of names and also of context and situations?
Well, I think that comes from my own experience living in the US. I've been there for almost 27 years. So I was perceiving a society, a very complex society, but everyone has a different idea about what is the United States. But in my own experience as an Spaniard who migrates there and developed a career there in the United States, I had a different experience. It was not a filmic experience. A lot of people perceive the United States from the movies or the TV shows. But on my own experience, it was me living and working there and meeting a lot of people and approaching a lot of complex issues. And at the same time, I had a lot of nostalgia for Spain. So in the novel, you can see the trip, one place of different people. There is some Spaniard characters. There is a lot of US characters. So they travel and they cross each other. And also I had a lot of interest on the age. I had a genuine interest on old people and how old people perceive life. But also I believe in childhood. I believe in youth, all other aspects of society, because society is a complex group of interactions where people has different ages. There is this tendency to group people in the same group of age, but it's not what it happens in society. Everyone has to be combined and to meet each other and to interact with each other. So in the novel, I was looking for characters in different times of life, but also different group of societies.
You may find my question candid or rather funny, but how do you do to remember, to memorize the names, the characters, their interactions? Do you have like tricks, unknown tricks? Maybe, I don't know, when a character dies, a puppet goes into a drawer and stays there and it's out of the picture. How do you do it?
Well, I think you embrace your characters. As I am a teacher also, I teach at the University of Iowa. So you know the names of all your students. You have a class of 35 students, you know all of them, you know the problems, you know how they are, you know, taking the classes, how things are going. So it's the same technique. It's like a classroom. So you know every character is like you have a classroom when you are teaching and they tell you things and you have to grade them and help them to develop their knowledge. So in that matter, I like that sensation. I think came at natural when I developed the book as a group of people. So there was you learn how they should be. You choose their name. You imagine their life. Even you don't tell everything in their life, but you have this sensation that you know them pretty well.
Okay. There is constant movement in your book. Your heroes and your heroines never cease to act or to react, even when they have left the premises. They leave and keep living. It is a novel about the small pieces that build life, actually.
Yes, I love the small details. I love the poetic sense of the instant in our life, how even the life who can be very simple at the same time has a lot of energy. So in the novel you see the beauty of the energy of simple people who gave meaning to society, who gave meaning to all of us as a community, the sense of community that is vital to the development of societies, to the development of fraternity, to the development of love and sympathy is super important in my novel, from the simplicity of life. So we will see a boy who works in a supermarket. Is the supermarket boy who orders things in the work for the people, but he's super important because he's nice. He has a perspective of life. He learns from others. So I really like that.
You know, another impression I had while reading your novel is that there can never be utter solitude. Even when we consider ourselves alone and isolated, somehow we come to mark someone else's life. Am I going too far with my own reading?
No, I think I truly believe, I think your reading is perfectly right, because life, the meaning of life is the way we interact with others. So it's true that some of the characters are in solitude, but when we learn more about them, we realize they have connections with others and they have an impact on other people, and the way they behave, they have meaning and they make other people think. Even the most difficult people create an impact on others. So I really like that chain of connections who create human meaning, because what I was looking at the book is the reader has to be active. I didn't want a passive reader. I think there is a lot of products who are pretty interesting, but that's super passive. So you read, you entertain yourself, and it's gone. But I want the book to be a space for meditation, an active thinking, to have critical thinking, to put yourself in the place of the characters, to make decisions, to try to understand, to have thoughts.
Well, although you depict the most intense feelings, love, hatred, disappointment, rage, fear, you do it with a certain delicacy or a certain softness, I would say. Are you ever tempted to go beyond that line?
Well, I truly believe literature can investigate that softness. I think literature can go through the godness, the goodwill, the concept of the goodwill. That as a literary concept, I think is very fascinating, because in Spain we came from the tradition of Don Quixote, that is goodness. He's trying his best. Even things are a disaster, he believe in godness, in help the others, in the ability to be for the others. So I really like that sensation, because there is a lot of literature who investigate darkness and evilness and things like that. And that is an interesting concept, but I think the beauty of the human, this kind of philosophical beauty of why we understand each other, why do we believe in universal love, why do we believe in passion for things, why do we believe in innocence, the innocence of giving to the other, that kind of feelings, that kind of living approach that makes society to resist against evil can be a very interesting substance for literary creation. So I was looking for that.
I really like this sentence about the literary substance. I would go beyond what you say and assert that the feelings make for a common language, or even a map that we pursue in our own quest to find what defined us as humans. How do you adjust with currently using 2 languages to express yourself?
Well, I think to have to use 2 languages is always an adventure, because you are different you are different characters in different languages. For people, when I speak in English, I'm very sweet, and in Spanish, I have a strong temper. So it's very, very fascinating. But I like the experience of living in different countries and learning their languages. When I was in the Netherlands many years ago as a student, I learned Dutch. So then I moved to the US and I improved my English. So I have a passion for language. I believe in the beauty and the musicality. I was very, very happy when the novel got translated, because I was trying to read the beauty of the language itself, of the Romanian. So has something very magical. Every language has a beauty. So for me, it's always an experience to be in different atmospheric countries, languages, meeting people, trying to understand the way they express themselves. So for me, it's always an adventure.
Which is your routine as a writer? What do you need to have around you in order to assure you the best mood for you to write?
Okay, one thing I do always is I write everything by hand. So I always have notebooks with me, everything. I write diaries, I always write it. So I always write by hand, always. So I write normally the first version of everything I do by hand and in notebooks. That is super important. I really like to use different colors, pencils, I love to use colors. I am very drawing person. I also draw the characters sometimes, the landscapes. I really like to envision what I'm going to do. That I love. So normally I will wake up very early in the morning, because if I have to teach and, so I really like to take the early morning sensation. So I will wake up very early, will have my coffee, my nice breakfast. I really like fruit. So I will, I can do a routine of feeling good. And then I will sit and write by hand. Several chapters, several ideas for a few hours, 2 or 3 hours. Then I will have
every day.
If I am in the mood of a book, yes. If I'm writing poetry, yeah, like I will try to do 3-4 days a week. I will try to, if I am in the middle of a novel or a big piece or an essay, I will try to take the early mornings of the day, because they are fundamental on my routine. Then I will go to work sometimes, because I have to teach at the university, or if I am in tour, I will have travel, things like that. So I really like to take the early morning. And at the end of the day, when I finish whatever I'm doing, I will, pass the handwriting to my computer. Right. So it will be a new version of what I did, because I will edit, I will rethink. So that I do always. The handmade version is super important for me.
Yes, I was going to point that out, because actually you double do your own work, handwriting in the morning, then typing what you have written in the morning for the end of the day. But then again, I suppose the handwriting makes you somehow inhabit your context, your characters, your situations in a more personal way, right?
Absolutely, because then I draw things, I look for words, I change color, and I underline things. I do structures, I do summarize. So I really like the drawing process of doing my book is very, very nice in that sense. So it's why I really enjoy, because even I write a diary every day. Every day I use the notebook a lot. So I'm very attached to handwriting because even I think the process of writing by hand makes you use different parts of the brain. Then when by night I'm typing what I wrote, in the morning, I go back to what was the last part of the day, what I work. So it's why early in the morning I'm very active, because I went to sleep with the editing version of what I did in the early morning. So it's a pretty nice, and I really enjoy doing it. So I have friends who are writers who suffer on the creative process. I'm a very, enjoyable person in the creative process. I really like the ideas. I really like to work with words. I really like to read out loud, because I like the rhythm. I have to feel what I wrote has a rhythm and has a musicality, even if it's prose. So it's a very nice process.
You also teach creative writing. Can experience, technique, and hard work compensate an average talent? Well,
what I mean is, like, in everyone there is a talent. I'm a very optimistic person, and I believe in the creative nature of everyone. I do a lot of community workshop. I go with youth to do workshops. So besides teaching in the university, in the University of Iowa, that is a very well known, I create the MFA in Spanish creative writing. So it's a very very well-known place for writers. So we have that space, and I think it's very, very important. But I also do a lot of community workshops in Iowa with the Latino communities, and sometimes I go to Latin America. So I develop also this idea of community, creative community, and how creativity can have an impact on communities, on society. Well, for the people, if you love to write, you also, if you want to be a good writer, you need to read. I give a lot of recommendations to youth writers to really read. And when you read, think why the novel you just read, you love that much, to have a kind of critical thinking of the authors you love. That will help you a lot to develop your talent. And again, if you read a lot, if you write a lot, and if you work hard, I think talent is something that can build. The same way you build resistance in your body when you run every day, and then you can end being a good runner. It's true that there is people who has a natural ability, and you look at them and say, oh my God, that person has a natural ability. But sometimes that person with a very natural ability and an amazing talent, they make their life a mess. They don't have any control. They suddenly, they destroy their talent, making wrong decisions, having too much ego. So I'm like, I've been many years watching writers, and sometimes people who you think maybe is not the more talented of the group, that hasn't the most, kind of natural talent, then they have a kind of intelligence to develop talent, to learn how to understand words, to read, to work hard, that at the end, they can do a really good literary piece. Meanwhile, the person who you saw with an amazing natural talent, they didn't have a talent for life, and the end, not having the tenacity, the working tenacity to keep working in a manuscript, to keep editing, to keep listening to others' voices, and to keep trying to understand the text. So this kind of natural talent, okay, is there, and it's great when some people have it, but other people who maybe think, oh, I do not have a natural talent, maybe they can develop an amazing talent. So I'm very optimistic with people and their talent.
Is there also a reverse side of this creative writing process, one that can maybe lead you to some certain cliches up to the point when you practically recognize the technique, taking the first step before the natural talent, before the instinct, before the awe in front of a literary good piece?
Okay, so I think the issue that a writer has to think is, okay, what I want to write, or what do I feel to write, and what do I want to tell? It's true that there is people who perceive writing as a profession, who they want to have success, and they want to have a kind of the life of a writer. I always say people, the life of a writer doesn't exist, because it's a really hard work. And if you are a writer, you are going to end trying to balance it with another profession, maybe as a journalist, maybe, as a teacher. So, because the love for writing goes in one direction, and the success for your writing goes in a totally different direction. And maybe one day one of your book will make a great hit, but when you are thinking in a literary way of creating, when literature is the essence of your writing, success is not happening at the same time. Success is going to take time. It's going to take the understanding of the reader. You need the intelligence of your reader to balance, to understand, to go through the literary project that you're bringing. So it's true that people sometimes is looking for other type of writing, other type of success. Well, but maybe it's not the literary understanding that you are hoping as a writer. So I think there is many levels and many different issues about writing, and also to perceive, there's certainly, when you are writing introspective literature, is going to have a different type of audience. Audience has to discover you. You are not going to have the same way of promotion. It's not going to look for a TV show which is going to be fast, because when literature has a thought, is different, the timing of every part.
Speaking of success, El Mapa de los Afectos has been awarded the prestigious Nadal Prize. What kind of motivation works best for you?
Well, for me, that was a surprise, in the matter that when I wrote the book, I gave it to my agent. And my agent, Shell, is a very passionate lady, young woman. And she read the book and she said, Ana, this is excellent. We have to send it to contest. This is really good. And I was, okay, whatever. Shell, if you feel that, you know what I mean? I was, traveling back to Iowa. I was teaching in Zurich. I was going back to Iowa City. I had my book. I had the manuscript. I felt that I had everything I want to say was there. So I trust her. Say, if you really think it's a really good book, let's try it. Otherwise, and she said, well, otherwise it doesn't happen. They will want it because this is really good. Publisher companies are going to want this manuscript. It's excellent, Ana. So I was very, very happy when it happened. You see me like, oh my God, I was very, very happy. So that is very nice, because that allows you to be known by many more readers, and that is excellent, and also find translators, and it's fantastic. So I was very, very happy. Was a plus for my passion for writing.
Well, speaking about this passion for writing, it seems that in your case, it is a family tradition, since you are the daughter of the well-known writer José María Merino. And I was going to ask you, what lesson learned from your father do you still carry in your heart even today?
Well, it's fantastic. My father, José María Merino, is fantastic, and I grew up reading books. So for me, to have literature at home, to have a very well-known writer, someone with such a passion for literature, is fantastic. It's something that I share with other people. I share with teachers that the passion for books is something that has to grow at home. And if you don't have a family who reads, it's fundamental to have teachers to share that passion with kids, with the students. So yes, I've been very lucky. And so family is in my family. My father is an amazing writer. And now my husband, because my husband is Manuel Vilas. Manuel Vilas, the writer, Spanish writers of Ordesa. I don't know if you know that book. So he's a very well-known writer, a poet. So I have literature everywhere. The only thing is we commute, because we've been together since Manuel and me since 2014. So we commute in and out from the United States to Spain. So yes, there's something with literature around me. My family tradition is everywhere.
And my last question, in a humble and let us say mutually understood and generous reverse gesture, is there something about writing that you would like to transmit to your father?
Well, I think we share a lot of things. My father and me, we converse a lot, and I think I'm happy with the passion he gave me, so I keep the same passion alive. There is one genre that I developed that is theater that he didn't. So sometimes he say, "Oh, well, I never wrote theater, Ana. You are very courage to go through theater, because theater is pretty complex, and to put together plays is pretty complex, and I have experience doing that." So on the family tradition, I was the one who brought theater at home to the house, to the family house.
I see. Well, Ana Merino, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.